All right, today is the day. So I'm going to go ahead and finally hook up our spare 1,500 liter water tank to this one so we can double our water storage. So it's been a long time coming. I said I was going to do a separate video on this, and I want to kind of explain why it's taken so long. So our plumber that actually hooked this up did not want to call him because there was issues here that I'm not going to get into, other than the fact there was a lot of leaks and it took him about 3 tries to get it, and then he did not know how to set the water pressure appropriately, so I had to YouTube University it and come out here and set it. So he was off the list, so I asked for a recommendation for a plumber, and I got a recommendation. So a gentleman came up and I said, listen, this is going to be a real easy deal. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll put the tank in place. I'll do the concrete pad. I'll set it in place. I'll hook up the air vents, which is right there. And I will also connect, and let me do a zoom, coming out of the new tank. I'll do blue pipe and I'll elbow it down, and I'll put a valve right there. So only thing he has to do is with the fusion machine, because with the white pipe you have to melt the pipe and join them together, which I'll show you in a minute. With the blue pipe, you use the glue and glue it together. So I did all this work, got it done, and all he had to do, the plumber, and this is my overflow coming out. If I ever want to empty this tank, the main tank, I just open that valve and all the water will come out. Long-time viewers know, right down there, there's a 3-inch pipe. That 3-inch pipe goes on an angle all the way out to the rock wall past the pool and exhausts out there. So any water that's collected from back here is pitched. You can see that's quite a pitch here. Comes down and exhausts out. So I bought all the parts, and all he had to do, which I'm going to do today, is cut this, fuse this valve in, so I can shut this valve off, or shut this tank off if I wanted to. There's already a valve there that I put in that isolates the second tank. And then there'll be a T right here that'll go right here. So all you'd have to do is fuse in those 2 joints, which is a valve, fuse in these 3 joints, one leading to the main tank, which is right here, one going to the secondary tank, and then one exhaust if I want to exhaust water out. And I can isolate tank number 2 and tank number 1 with these 2 valves. So basically, connect this, connect the T, and then just connect into the blue pipe. So 3 connections. So I told him half hour's worth of work, maybe an hour. So I brought him up and said, hey, what do you want to do the job? Yeah. So I said, how much? And he said, nah, you set the price. I says, nah, it doesn't work that way. He goes, no, sir, I want you to set the price. So I said, okay. I said, what do you get paid per day? When you go to a job or you're working for a contractor, what does the contractor pay you to do the piping for a house? And he says, I get paid 700 pesos a day. So I said, okay, I'll round up. I'll give you 1,000 pesos. And it'll take you less than an hour. So you'll get more than a day's pay. I thought that was fair. He said 700 a day is what he makes. So I just rounded up to 1,000. And he said, fine. He says, sounds good. So off he went. And I said, when will you do it? He goes, I'll do it on Saturday. So Saturday came. Guess what? He didn't show. So I had his contact information. So Wilma sent him a text, and he said, no, your husband and I couldn't come to an agreement. I wanted 5,000 pesos, and he wanted to do it for 1,000 pesos, and I told him no, which couldn't be further from the truth. So he wanted 5,000, didn't tell me that, agreed on 1,000. And actually we shook hands, because that's how I always do business. I shook hands with him. And I think that was a Wednesday or Thursday. He's going to be back on Saturday. So I reached out to my contact, who gave the recommendation, who happens to be a Filipino contractor in the area. And he goes, oh, geez, let me reach out. And he got right back to me, which I thought was pretty nice, and said, yeah, he said he wanted 3,000 pesos. The number changed. He told Wilma 5,000 was the agreement. He told the contractor 3,000 when we agreed on 1,000. So obviously we didn't use him. So what I did was, for 2,000 pesos, I bought my own fusion machine. And it has different size for different size pipe. 2,000, now I have it forever. Again, he wanted 5,000 or maybe 3,000, depending on the day and who he was talking to. I went ahead and bought the fusion machine for 2,000, and now I can be my own plumber. So that's the story. That's the reason why this is not done. Again, foreigner price, lack of integrity, just line up the issues, pretty common. And I'm kind of going with the flow and just say, you know what, for most things, I'm going to do it myself. And you can also see that we got our gutter in. So there's the gutter, Filipino gutter. And then I'll paint this the sand dune color. So now we're kind of ready. No longer is water expelling over the wall to our neighbors. That's all capped off appropriately. And I had them cut off the exhaust right here because I bought all the fittings. Remember, I said I was going to put a valve here and here coming over, going into the tank. And then I'll do under the valve a T and then exhaust all the way down to where the 3-inch pipe is, just a couple inches away. So hopefully we'll never have to use rainwater for our water storage tank. But the infrastructure will be set where basically all the time when it rains, the water will come down this pipe, exhaust out here, go out to the rock wall in front of the house, all set and good. And I'll keep that valve open. The valve leading to the water tank will be closed, so no rainwater will go into the water storage tank. However, if we get into drought situations again, and you can say if you're in a drought, you don't get any rain anyway, good point. But if the water ever does shut off, meaning the municipal water shuts off for whatever reason, catastrophe or maintenance issue, and we run out of water, and I run out of pool water, which is a lot of water there, I think it's 17,000 gallons. Then what I could do is shut off this valve so it doesn't exhaust out, open the valve leading to the water storage tank, and then if we do get rain, rain will go into the water storage tank. Just setting it up for if the case that happens. I don't think it ever will, but I'd rather get it done now when the skies are blue than try to quickly retrofit something during an emergency situation. So that's what we're doing. I'm also pumping water right now because this valve is closed. I'm pumping water from the main tank. That's what this hose is for. And I have a sump pump in there. And it's going into the new tank. So I've been checking for leaks. Here in my blue pipe, I don't see any. Looks perfectly dry over there. It's about half full now, so we're getting close to be able to open that drain and get this pipe dry and then cut it. And again, I'm not cutting the main line that goes in to the pressure pump. I'm only cutting the exhaust line, which is going to be the line, you can see it feeds back into the main. That's going to connect the two tanks. And with the water pressure, it'll equalize, and I'll have double the storage. So we're not going to mess with the municipal water in. Still will fill this tank, and it will equalize. So when we use water, both tanks will come down at the same time. And then when this kicks on, the water will fill up at the same time because the pipes are connected. So that's my project today. Interesting to see how the fusion goes because I've never done it before. I've watched it happen, but I've never seen it happen. So the question may be, how do you connect the white pipe to the blue pipe? Two different types of pipe. So here is how you do it. Let me shut the camera off and open this up real quick. Right, this is pretty simple. So just a piece of the pipe will go into that joint there. We'll glue in. I already glued it in here. And then we have thread. And then the transition is thread that'll fit on the blue pipe. So obviously I'll put some Teflon tape there and make sure that's a dry and won't leak. And then on this side, this will be fused to a small piece that I'll have to put here into the T. So that'll be the transition from blue to white. So you can transition if you have one of these. All right, guys, I'm just going to take a couple minutes and show you how to fuse. So I put this piece already fused into there. So now what I'm doing, I also fuse that into there. It's not difficult. So this is the device, and you have your inside and your outside fuser, or your diameter. So this goes over top of that, and this is really, really hot, so you can't touch it. So this will go over top of that. This will go inside of that. And you really got to push it. And then you're supposed to let it sit for 8 seconds is what the directions say. And then you pull it out, and then you got to put it in place. Now this valve needs to be turned up. This is what's going to the secondary tank. So when I do this, it has to be like this. I can't put it like this. This has to be up. So let's give it a shot. And this side seems to be harder to get in than this to be over, but well, let's see. See how quickly that slid over? So you got to work it. All right, let it sit a few seconds. Okay, now you pull it apart, and it says you have 4 seconds. See how it goes right in so easy? So now that's seated in. You let it sit, and it's supposed to be waterproof. But that's it. That's how difficult it is. Pretty simple. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. In real time, hour, 10 minutes. So it took me a little more than an hour to get this done. And I'm sure a plumber would have done it in much quicker time, because actually I miscut one pipe and I had to recut it a second time. But start to finish, hour and 10 minutes. So I let everything sit about 15-20 minutes before I open the valve. So the valve is open here, the valve is now open there. It can do the feel test to see if there's any leaks. No leaks. We're good. Let's check over here. No leaks over there. So I think we're okay. Can you hear the water? So I turned the valve back on for the municipal water, because the municipal water comes in with that small black pipe. So I have a valve there to shut the municipal water off. Now it's back on, so it's filling this tank. That tank was filled this morning when I pumped all the water from this tank to that tank, so that tank's already full. Now they're equalizing because they're connected. So when I opened the valve, I could feel or hear the water rushing from the full tank to the empty tank. So I did let it go about a half hour to get maybe, I don't know, 10 inches of water in there, just so I could check for leaks before I turned the valve on. And then once I turned the valve on, I could hear the water rush. So now, with them equalizing, they'll be half full, right? Because one tank was full, the other one was empty. I pumped it over. Now they're equalizing. And then it's probably going to take several hours, because the water through that half-inch pipe, it's not a lot of water coming out, but enough. It's kind of like a garden hose to fill them to 100%. And they should fill at the same rate. And then when it trips, there's a valve in here, shuts the water off. And now, instead of having 1,500 liters of water for the house, we'll have 3,000. So in essence, we're doubling our water storage. So that is something that I thought of during the drought. We're in the middle of the rainy season. The water's flowing fine. But again, you never know. It might not be a drought that shuts the water off. Could be a maintenance issue, mechanical issue. Who knows the reason why a municipality runs out of water? Maybe they just simply run out of water. So doubling the storage is not a bad thing. So 1,500 to 3,000. So comment, guys. What do you think? Did the plumber miss out on 1,000 pesos, a $20 payday for literally an hour and 10 minutes worth of work? And it was very simple to do. Put it together. I mean, you can do a joint in a matter of seconds. I think it's 8 seconds once you put it on the machine to melt, and then it says you have 4 seconds to actually put the joint together. So literally in 12 seconds you can do a joint, and we only had 3 joints. So it's really quick. What took the time is to cut the pipe, and just make sure that it's all the right size. And like I said, the reason why it took an hour and 10 minutes is I actually cut this piece too big. It was about 2 inches too long, so I had to go back and cut another piece, cut it a second time. So not bad for a rookie, huh? Now we have double our water storage.